Hey, it's Joseph here for Zenny62. So I want to make a quick video in response to some of the news footage as well as here on Zenny62 with Zenny doing a great job talking about the Juneteenth shooting in Oakland in Lake Merritt. Now, when I looked into it myself, there's always conflicting reports, even from the police department, who indicate there were 5,000 people crowding Lake Merritt. And in another report, they said 10,000 people. So without getting into depth about other issues, let's take those facts into consideration. You essentially have a crowd gathering, and primarily I'm sure it's targeting certain locations that might be prime spots. And it looks like it was essentially a free-for-all when you have reports calculating how many people were there. And that's the thing, is that where were security? Anytime there's a large event, you don't have to be Gestapo and have, this SWAT team out there, but there has to be some kind of semblance, some kind of security, and maybe not to control people, but control areas that are being overcrowded, and maybe saying, oh, it's full here, let's move down to a different area. Having said that, when you see the actions that occurred on June 19th in Oakland in celebration of the signing of the bill by Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, it was a celebration, and it should have been celebrated. And so I think there's a culmination of many things that occurred. I do think that there were deceptive forces that didn't help the matter in the situation, because we know we're living in a time and we're living in a society that has been emboldened by a former racist president and racist Congress that happen to be, in my belief, a portion or a sect of the Republican Party. And when you have in a national level a riot on Capitol Hill, it's easily to conceive that there were some conspiracies going on at Lake Merritt in Oakland, especially when you're being targeted by the former president, pinpointing Oakland as a hotspot for violence without any justification for saying so, when in fact there are, and what many people believe, that there is inciting by a group of outsiders to not only set up this narrative, but I think it was moved into June 19th. We also are dealing with the society that has failed the youth, because they see this as an opportunity to party instead of taking stock and really delving into the relevance of this bill and what it meant for your ancestors and people of this country in America. It's an important bill signing, not only to the African community, but Americans as a whole. So I think in the society, we let down the youth. There seems to be this huge entitlement. I see it all around me, regardless if you're in Oakland, Georgia, Southern California, Los Angeles, wherever you are in the country, there seems to be a self-entitlement of youth. And I'm not sure where that comes from. Maybe it's too easy to blame the parents. Maybe it's too easy to blame society. But there seems to be a lack of education. And also, someone who's over 35, I can remember being that age. It wasn't so long ago. But I also remember that I didn't take stock into life as I do now. The maturity level, as we know, occurs later in life through life experiences, and you realize some of the things you did as a youth were unnecessary and potentially harmful, not only to you and to others. And we know biologically or anatomically, we know that the human brain doesn't fully develop to maybe, I believe, the sightings that I read, until after 24. So you have a young group of people that maybe are not thinking or not connecting all the brain cells together, and maybe it has something to do with being fully developed or not, but that's besides the point. At that age, once you're 13, 14, 15, you know from right from wrong. And so, we've are also coming out of a pandemic. People were asked to stay home. And there's a lot of vent-up frustration. There's a lot of vent-up anger. And there's a lot of emotion that occurs that people feel special. People feel entitled that they can do whatever they want. And we see that through every nationality, every culture, every ethnicity. There has to be a discussion about how do we address this problem with the youth, but also we have to address the potentiality of there being a concerted effort to destroy anything that has to do with the celebration or any kind of civil rights to other people that don't fall into the racist narrative. So, it's a little disturbing. One thing that Zenny pointed out, and it's something that when he pointed out about these crowdsourcing groups that are being hired for political reasons to incite possible violence. We've seen this, I think it was in 1995, there's a movie called Wag the Dog, where things were planned and incited and given a narrative, and it was all fake. And it was portrayed and it was filmed and it was practically a Hollywood production to push a narrative so that everybody falls in line or to incite some kind of reaction, some kind of response. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we're seeing now. And these responses that we're finding are perpetrating and inciting violence. So it's unfortunate that, again, in such an this was an opportunity to celebrate, to take heed of what this meant, and to a certain degree fellowship with your fellow brothers and sisters in the community. And unfortunately, with some of the footage you see, when after some of these people were shot or injured, you have people twerking in front of the ambulance and stampeding on top of the ambulance roof. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. And then you start questioning, well, if all these conspirators are trying to create or incite havoc, were these people paid off? Were these people given money to act a fool in front of cameras, in front of people, to create more havoc, more problems? I don't know the answer to that. But don't be surprised if that later on comes out as one of the things that did occur. Besides that, let's say none of that is true. We have to stay responsible as people. We have to make sure that young people do the right thing. And I don't know what the answer is. It's just my thoughts, but we really got to do something about that. Keep it here on Zenny62, and don't forget to like and subscribe.